I don't know about you, Wendy. I've been seeing a lot of stuff on TikTok and Instagram about uh, younger, newer workers in the workforce complaining about, I can't afford life. I can't afford this. I can't afford a house. I can't afford X, Y, or Z. And I'm sick of it, man. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant today because you can afford all these things. And it's maybe not even how you're thinking about it, right? And so we're going to talk about that, what to look for, what to set the expectations, and things you can be doing to live that life you want to live, where you should be living at a younger age and things like that. And I don't know what's in the air. Maybe it's the end of the month or something like that. But I don't know. I saw some of these videos that I was just mentioning, and I'm like,
Feeling
stop
a
it.
little feisty, aren't you?
I am a little feisty. It's just like, this is BS, right? So we're going to talk about that today in regards to, I can't afford it. I mean, I don't know. How do you
Yeah.
feel about that? Do you think they're correct, or do you think they're just looking at the wrong things? I mean,
Well, it's so funny because you see like that extreme right online. We can't afford life. I have to live with my parents forever, whatever. Nobody's getting paid enough, blah, 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 blah. And then you have the other side of the coin where you see people that are like creating simple reels online and making, 50, 60, $70,000 a month. And so, yeah, I think it all comes down to your perspective and what you I don't know. I say all the time, life change starts with a made up mind. And if you're going to make up your mind that you're broke, then
you're going to be broke.
you're going to be broke. But you can make up your mind that you're going to be successful and that you can, and then
Yeah.
you do, right?
Well, and I think a lot of social media has created this environment or this world of, unrealistic expectations of what life is like. Number one, and I'm not even going to talk about this today, but, the idea of, well, I'm going to go to college and then that's going to get me a degree and I'm going to be guaranteed this high paying job.
Mhm.
That's not really, and that's one of the things too that you've got to realize nobody owes you anything in life. And I think a lot of younger people, not all, and so if it's not you, I'm not talking to you, so don't get triggered and start blowing us up. But it's one of the things that you look at. I saw this girl sitting in her car crying about oh, when is this and da 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 da. But it's all about your perspective, right? And what your expectations, your perspective on how you're handling it, and your expectations of getting right out of school. Because I think a lot of people see these, false lives on social media where they've got all these grandiose things and all these great things. And I'm sorry, folks, but I've seen a lot of reality behind the curtains on some of these social media accounts, and it's BS. They're painting the best picture possible. I think deep down we all know that, but there's some truth to it, right? But there's also this false sense of what to expect. Life, it's just going to come to you, right? I'm gonna think beautiful thoughts, and it's going to manifest all this great life, and that's not real. I'm sorry, I'm going on a little bit of a rant. I know maybe it's too much caffeine. I don't know what it is, but it's just like I'm like, up to here. Let's stop it. Let's stop it and talk or have a real conversation. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, yeah, I'm with you. And it's bottom line is you've got to have a healthy mindset, and then like you said, like not looking at like the influencers that paint this picture. It's so this is kind of a side note, but you'll see people online like, oh, I make this per month or that per month, and that are like online people, right? And the reality is they're telling you their revenue, not their income, right? They're telling you what they're making gross, right? And they're not accounting for maybe all the money they spend on ads and things like that to get to that revenue. But so it's really just, I feel like there's just this false idea about one, how expensive life is, and two, what it takes to be successful
Yep.
and what success looks like. And go ahead.
And that's the thing too, right? It goes back to what you were talking about, your perspective. I mean, you look at the average income in the United States right now, half higher, half lower, 67,000. Okay, you're not flying around in your G5 or anything like that, having that luxury lifestyle. But don't tell me you can't afford life. Have groceries gone up? Definitely. Has the cost of things gone up? Yes. Cars gone up? Yes.
Mhm.
They're coming back down. Housing is coming back down, right? And you can disagree with me on that. We can agree to disagree or whatever. Especially, it's going to be coming down definitely over the next 12 to 18 months, depending on where you're at. But I think that's really what the expectation. I know when I first got out of school, I could not wait to get out of the house. right? And the thought of ever moving back in with my parents, and I love my parents to death, no way in hell is that happening, right? And I think that was a mindset of Gen X, and I'm not saying Gen X is better than whatever, I'm not getting into all that, but we just had a different perspective and different expectations. I remember the very first apartment I had, I moved to a town, small town, Indiana, right? To get started in life. I couldn't afford to live in a big city, right? And so I found an apartment that was nice. It was clean. It was a 2-bedroom, which means I need a roommate because I can't afford everything on my own.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if that's like alien to people today or whatever. And then, I did move down. This was in Indiana. I moved to Indianapolis. Rents were much higher there. So I found a studio apartment that I could afford. And I didn't do a whole lot. I wasn't going to Starbucks all the time. I wasn't going clubbing with my friends. I mean, it was, nickel beer night on Tuesdays and stuff like that back in the day.
Right.
And so it's that I think that expectation, which has come about through the advent of social media and what everybody else, we're comparing ourselves. Oh my gosh, I've got to keep up with Wendy, or I've got to keep up with X, Y, or Z. I can't afford all this. So it's like the system's fault. No, it's not. It's you're allowing that, and agree to disagree with me, but you're allowing that to impact and sway your perspective. When in all reality, I mean, I just pulled up in Dallas, right? I don't know Dallas. I used to work in Dallas, and I'm like, okay, if I could afford a $250,000 home, how many houses would be available? And there were like quite a few, multiple hundreds of homes available, right? I didn't do any deep search or anything like that. I didn't try to look for a deal or anything like that. I just pulled it up. Here it is. That's in Dallas. That's not even including like the outskirts and stuff like that. That's for a single family 3-bedroom house. So again, man, I'd love to have some real estate. Well, let's look at how can I afford that? Well, I got 2 extra bedrooms. Let's find some roommates. They pay me rent. And now not only do I have the house building equity, but I've got a business that I get some additional tax write-offs and stuff like that because I've got a run.